There's a possibility this becomes a series on the channel, I don't know, but I wanted to talk about some of my favorite pieces from Bionicle. In this video, we're going to be focusing on Bionicle feet. A weird place to start, I guess, but it's because I actually found a hidden connection with another foot piece, and I've actually found a few hidden connections involving feet particularly. I don't know what that says about me, but my favorite foot from Bionicle, from Hero Factory, from Bionicle G2, of all of the feet to have been used, is still to this day the Mata foot. And it's not because it's classic. Like, yeah, I'm a fan of the classics, sure, absolutely. But it's actually because it has some really unique connections that are in many ways exclusive to it. Most notably, the connection that I think everybody knows about is that on the Pohatu set, it comes with this weapon right here. I don't know what the official name for this is, I just call it a kicker, but it can be inserted directly inside of the foot and then an axle slit through it to allow you to actually connect this as its own weapon. And this is something that was obviously taken advantage of in the Pohatu Mata set all the way back in 2001, but obviously actually played a pretty crucial role, more crucial in fact, in the Toa Nuva sets. Of the 6 Toa Nuva, 4 of them, I don't know why I held up a fifth finger, 4 of them used this connection in some way, including again Pohatu, but also Onua with the chainsaws, Kopaka with the ice skates, right? And then Gali with her flippers. Also, if you didn't know, by the way, these do come in some solid colors. This one in light bluish gray, this one in sand blue and also light bluish gray. So if you don't have those, yeah, it's worth seeking them out. They're pretty cool recolors for these pieces. That said, though, what else I find fascinating about this piece, outside of the fact that you can connect other things through it because it has this unique, entirely hollow section that runs through the length of the foot, it also has this little piston right up at the top here. And that piston is exactly the same diameter as a standard bar from Lego, a lightsaber bar or whatever, which means you can clip things onto it. And people have done this to great effect using like a number 3 Hero Factory or CCBS shell piece to actually cover some of the empty space there. It gives it a much smoother aesthetic if that's something that you're into. Outside of that, though, there's also a connection that I actually displayed in its own hidden connection video. So one of my feet hidden connections, which has to do with these double pinhole down here. It's slightly wider than the rest of the foot, allowing you to actually clip a ball joint inside of there. This one, for some reason, has really good friction. Most of the ball joints don't. But yeah, this one actually sits in there quite well. Outside of that, I keep saying that. I keep going back to that phrase. That's my phrase for the day, right? This foot also comes in a wonderful array of colors. There are at least 2 colors for every element. Obviously, it comes in the original 6 Toa Mata colors, so red, black, brown, green, white, and blue. But also in 2001, we were introduced to one on the Terracotta set in dark turquoise. It's in fact the only foot that appears in that color, so it's definitely one worth seeking out. 2002 would give us 2 more new colors, notably the old dark gray one, but also this one, which didn't come in a Bionicle set at all. Rather, it was in a Lego Technic Star Wars set, the Super Battle Droid, which is the source of so many pieces in this color. This is metallic blue or pearl sand blue, whatever you call this color. It is just a wonderful color. And this is essentially the only Bionicle piece to appear in it. Like, there are definitely other pieces that are compatible with Bionicle thanks to this set, thanks to Knight's Kingdom, which had several pieces, but this is the color that went unused in Bionicle with the exception of Krata and Krana using this metallic blue color, which is kind of sad. It's a beautiful color. 2004 also saw a recolor. 2003 didn't, but it did use the piece still on Taka Nuva set. 2004, though, gave it to us in another shade of gray, dark bluish gray, which unfortunately would go kind of overused in my opinion. So you can get this one on a ton of sets. The Vaki, of course, being the main sort of focus for those pieces, but they are on other sets all the way in through 2007. 2005, 2006 didn't use the piece at all, at least as far as I'm aware, and not in Bionicle. Maybe in other themes, I don't know. But 2007 would bring them back on 2 sets, Matoro as well as Maxilos. Unfortunately, no new recolors of the piece there, but 2008 would give us our first recolor in a number of years, orange. It also gave us a new mold, a slightly modified version of the mold with squared off sockets here. And I find that really unnecessary, I'm going to be honest. You can actually even see the outline of the original socket on it. So clearly they added or cut away, removed material from the mold to make this happen. But what I find most fascinating about this is that even though that's more plastic material, this one, from my experience, is more prone to breaking. This socket is more prone to breaking, which means it's not so much a call out of that socket specifically, but rather this plastic has definitely changed as people have maybe theorized in the past. Thankfully, it's not a major issue, and I've never had one break off so completely that it can't be used, but getting them and having them crack is definitely a bad feeling. It does still happen to old feet pieces as well. Apparently, my throat is just going to be coughing all day. That said, 2009 was another boon, another wonderful year for these feet, where we got 3 more colors, including Keat Orange, Dark Blue, and Tan. In total, 14 colors of this foot, making it, I believe, the most diverse foot in terms of recolors from all of Bionicle, Hero Factory, and from Bionicle 2, Gen 2. Sure, whatever. I could be wrong on that. I know that the Hero Factory CCBS foot, the 2.0 foot, did come in a decent amount of colors. Obviously, the Borak foot came in a bunch of colors as well. But the foot overall is a very unique one in how it can be used, and it's used to good effect in many sets, in many mocks. There was one that I actually saw yesterday on Instagram by a member called Stub. I apologize, because I know that the name is longer than that, but I don't remember exactly what it is, where it actually utilizes these pieces together, because as you notice, the leg, the Vaki leg, actually keeps the aesthetic of the Toamata foot inside there. And in fact, even the same angle in that cutaway. It doesn't just directly connect. Obviously, you'd have to build it up, but that's pretty cool either way. And it's just a really lovely aesthetic. So moving on from there, hidden connections. As I mentioned, as I was playing around with a build yesterday, trying to sort of come up with something new and different, utilizing a color that had never been used in Bionicle G1 before, bright green, I did make an interesting discovery. It also involves another foot from Bionicle's history, this foot specifically, the Mantax foot. That's typically what I call it, because that's the set that introduced it. Although I guess you could call it the Karzani foot too. It's also used on that set as well. And this connection involves just this foot, a couple of pins, and a Paraka body. Now, calling this a hidden connection is a bit of a stretch, because I don't think it's a terribly useful one, but you could definitely use it, and I'm going to try and use it anyway in the future. I'll talk about that in a moment. But it's worth noting that the Paraka body is a little bit interesting and a little different than the Anika body, which came out in the same year, because it has these extruded bits of plastic, these added details. And those are cool to look at, but they do limit what you can connect to this piece spanning across it. However, the cutaway in this back of the foot here is near exactly the shape of that extruded plastic, meaning that you can actually connect the foot directly over top of it, and it's like the two pieces were designed to fit together. I say it's not the most useful because the ball joint is in line with the foot, making it a little hard to connect sockets there. You can do it, but it's not, it kind of blocks them off. It makes them a little bit weird. And it does leave that central strip open, so you can still connect things from the front or the back. And it's also worth noting that you can do this connection on the front or back of the Paraka body. It will actually branch over both bits of plastic, though on the back it tends to push the foot. What is this, a heel? Like, I don't know what else to call it, but it will push that out ever so slightly. The front, though, there's no stress on the piece itself. So a really interesting piece, a really interesting connection, even if I don't think it's the most useful, because sometimes you'll find hidden connections and you're like, wow, that's cool. What the hell am I going to do with this? You know, so overall, though, this is still a really fascinating foot for a number of other reasons, notably the fact that the axle on it sits a little bit higher. It has that in common with the two-toed or large Paraka foot, which means you can actually attach a socket directly to it in both orientations that is possible for a socket. So you could take a socket and attach it as you would any other foot, giving you a sort of high ankle, which is kind of nice for this design, but you can also connect it with the socket horizontal. That tends to limit your use of this piece a little bit more, but it's not terrible by any means. And obviously it lowers the ankle back down inside of the foot. So both are useful, and it's, you know, it's nice that that is an option that you have. All right, so before ending the video, like I said, I just want to kind of lay this one back a little bit. Overall, I think these are a fantastic, fantastic foot design. Apparently, I'm losing my voice. Outside of that, though, obviously, I mentioned a video recently, should be on the channel now, talking about resin casting. And in that video, I was talking about just kind of trying to sort of convince people to resin cast. I do want to do a video actually going over my process. The main reason I haven't done that yet is because my camera is on a cord. I can't really take it into a different room other than like moving the computer, obviously. And the setup in the other room doesn't exactly fit in here either. Plus, obviously, like noise cancellation with the microphone and stuff. Anyway, it's a whole mess. It's definitely possible, not the most realistic thing to do, but I do want to do it, and I do want to do it here soon. So hopefully we'll see, maybe next week, whenever the video comes out, I want to do a video, kind of a start to finish on how I resin cast. I want to maybe even make a mold for you on camera. We'll see how that goes, what I decide to do, because I do use various methods. And I was actually talking to another fellow resin caster and friend of the channel, Zion Tyros, also on the Discord server. Wonderful human being, very helpful for gathering information as well. And I was talking to them yesterday about resin casting specifically because we both approach it with similar thought up here, a love for experimentation, but also different in the way that we tend to do our casts, right? Which I really enjoy because it means we can sort of bounce ideas off of each other, and also we can kind of learn from each other. And okay, what worked for you? What procedure did you do, or what steps did you take to do this thing? I'd love to learn more and experiment more. Or even just learning about like failures and stuff, because that happens too. Anytime you're going to be resin casting, anytime you're going to try and make something creative, there's always the risk that the thing you're trying to make comes out poorly. That's just the reality of life, right? In fact, I had one come out today that I was so looking forward to, but again, had pretty low hopes for. And it was this helmet right here, which unfortunately undercast a lot. I'm not very excited about it, but the color on that just looks lovely. And I did this by eye. I didn't try to match medium blue. Like, I wanted to get close to it. I'm going to toot my own horn here because this is a perfect match for medium blue from Lego. And it's the first time I've attempted to make that color, and I didn't do it with a reference piece beside me. So that feels good. But that said, though, the actual piece itself, unfortunately, didn't come out. And I'm so disappointed with it because this is the helmet that I've wanted to make with this mold specifically, with Malum's helmet, an ice character helmet that's white and fades to a blue, whether it be opaque or translucent, haven't decided yet, but this, it gives me so much hope, and I'm just so sad that it didn't quite come out. Still, though, it does reflect the diffusion pattern, which, and it even has a little bit of like a wisp through it too, which I really like. It's not the same as marbling, but it almost reminds me of like, what stratus clouds in the sky, the ones with the rays or whatever. I'm bad at describing this stuff, even though I do love meteorology and weather and stuff. It's fun to learn about. Anyway, outside of that, though, I cast 2 pieces yesterday, and unfortunately both of them didn't come out, and I'm very disappointed in myself with it, but I kind of rushed it. I had a feeling, and like I said, I was expecting this one to not come out anyway because I was a little bit low on the resin that I had made for it, and it started with a white resin that I then colored afterwards. So I was pouring the white in, then mixing a second batch from the same resin, making the secondary color. And I'm glad to see at least that the color came out, so I know I can do it again in the future. But yeah, I'm just disappointed because I was like, oh, it's so close. It's right there in front of me. It's like I could have had it. And yeah, you could look at it and see like, oh, well, you could still use it as like a broken helmet or something like that. That's cool too, but that's just not usually my thing. Whether that's something anybody else enjoys, all right, I can get behind that. So that's pretty much it for the video, I guess. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe again. It helps out the channel tremendously. And of course, you can always check out the links for Discord, Instagram, and Patreon, all of which are down in the description below. Let me know your thoughts, specifically what your favorite foot piece from Bionicle is, and preferably why it is your favorite. It could be a silly reason like, hell, I don't know. Sometimes I just like a piece and I could not describe to you why I like it. But it could also be that you just have an affinity for a specific piece because of, you know, your own story, or it's just a piece you find yourself coming back to over and over again. I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care.